Hello, Damascus Christian School families. I wanted to provide another update on the recent news from the governor and the COVID-19 metrics as they apply to the school. Most of the information that came out for Oregonians was probably not positive or good news, especially with cases increasing, but did want to address how does this apply to the school. First, there was some new metrics released out 2 weeks ago, and those metrics were very favorable for schools continuing to operate or moving towards operating, if they haven't yet, in person, or at least providing allowances for schools to meet with students face to face more easily than before. I'd like to address a few of these differences or changes that were made and how they will impact the operation of the school. I'll start off with the bad news and then pivot to the good news. Understanding all these changes can be quite difficult. Most of these documents are very large and cumbersome to read through. So I'm going to try to highlight a few key things. On our website, the entirety of the Ready School Safe Learners is still going to be on our website through that link where you can read through this in more detail. But I'm going to give you the highlights. Let's start with the negative things first, and there's only a few. Most of the news was very, very positive. As I said before, schools really have been given quite a bit more freedom to operate, primarily, as the governor said, because schools have not been identified within our state, even across the country and the world, as locations of major spread. And so that's one of the reasons why we are allowed to operate under the freedoms we do. That's also a caution for us to continue to be aware of what we're doing, our behavior, our actions. And if we do come onto campus and we've been reckless or cavalier and have exposed ourselves to COVID and bring that to the school, that can quickly bring to a screeching halt our ability to do education on campus. So I really appreciate parents being forthright in keeping kids home that are sick or kids that need to be quarantined because they've potentially been exposed. And you as parents have done just a phenomenal job with that, and I appreciate that. So the bad news, the one piece that's really sticks out to me, which will be hard for some of our students, and I think many of our parents, is masks. Masks have now basically been mandated at all times unless students are eating or drinking. Believe me, this is not easy for our teachers and for some of our students, but it is a change that was made. And so if your student does struggle with wearing a mask or a shield, if they're still wearing those, encourage them to take frequent water breaks if they need to, just to allow them to get that reprieve if they need it. So that would be the biggest change, and we're seeing that trend not just across our state but across the country, so that in some ways hopefully shouldn't come as a major surprise to anyone. That would be one of the biggest changes. The other big change that would be kind of in the negative category is the increase in cases. So yes, there is an increase in testing, and that's one of the reasons we've seen an increase in those testing positives or having positive results. We've also seen an increase in the percentage of people that are testing positive as well. And these are both trends that are seen here in Oregon, but also across the U.S. The reason that is a negative is it does start to move us, if you look at this table, from the yellow where we were a couple weeks ago towards the red. Now, as you read through this, this might create some significant apprehension as you see, oh wow, we're gonna have to go fully to remote learning. However, here's the good news. We can continue to operate the exact way we're operating now through January 4th. The difference is here, if our cases continue to be high after January 4th, having greater than 10% positivity, which right now we're on that threshold, and over 200 cases per 100,000, which we're also on that threshold, if we continue after January 4th, then yes, we'd have to look at remote learning. What we would do, though, is we would implement our emergency child care licensure so that we could still have kids in the same duration of time, same frequency that we've been having. So that would not change. And with our secondary kids, this still provides for what they would call limited in-person instruction, which we're currently doing now. So the good news is that until January 4th, we continue to operate exactly as we have been. And after January 4th, we could continue to operate as we have been, but we might need to exercise utilizing our emergency child care licensure, which would change a little bit how we are kind of running our day, but not significantly, and should be able to still cover all of our content that we had planned. So those are both huge praises that for the most part, unless we have a significant outbreak here on our school campus, at this point we do not foresee us having to scale back what we're offering to our students and our families in terms of education here at DCS. We continue to pursue opportunities and avenues in which we can continue to bring back some normalcy. Some of those things are under our control and some of those are not. So continuing to investigate what does the athletic season look like coming this winter and into the spring. Are we able to bring chapel back? What will that look like? Live performances for drama or music. Those are all things that we're still investigating that we don't have answers yet. There's constant meetings going on even this week that hope to address some of those. So I just wanted to share some of that information with you, as I know a lot of the information that came out in the last week or two was negative. The real positive news for us as a school is that we can continue to operate as we have been, which we're going to be able to do legally now, which is a good thing because it seems, at least coming from the governor and from the state and from ODE and OSHA, that they are making a more concerted effort to really clamp down and prosecute those who are violating the requirements and laws they've set up for this. Hope you guys are taking care during this challenging season, but we're thankful that we are able to still engage with your students on a daily basis, not just for their academic growth, but also for their spiritual growth.